43 seconds. Busy.
Well, that's the other.
Let's see, the next one.
Yeah. I'm hoping for next Monday.
I just hate to cancel Friday okay, I'm moving on.
And so.
I'm okay with pushing that back. Sure, do it. Well, okay, perfect.
Yes, you did. I have it, I'm gonna write everything on here. Type everything in, print it.
All right. So
Oh, okay, very good.
Brandon, I don't know. I think you're my watch.
Over the regular county council meeting, Monday, October 2nd, 7 p.m. Roll call.
Preble,
Here.
Langen,
Here.
Candy Davis.
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Paul Davis,
Yes.
Burdick,
Here. Pledge allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please report the meeting notice.
Meeting notices were posted on Friday, September 29th at the library, the post office, the city hall, and the website.
Thank you. Information for council acceptance agenda.
Motion to accept.
Motion second to accept the agenda. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Personal appearances for non-agenda items.
May I speak?
Yep.
Come up here, please.
So we can get you on the recording. State your name and address for record too, please.
My name is Guy Hinkle. I live at 107 West Watton Street here in town. There's 3 issues I'm really concerned about. Number 1, coming down our street. We gotta deal with 4 trucks and semis. That road is not designed for that kind of, is designed for that kind of industry. It's tearing up our road. I can't even open my front windows because the traffic of the fork trucks going up and down the road all day. Carrying big sheets of empty containers, bang, 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 all day long. Semis going up and down the road. We got kids everywhere in that street. That road is not designed for that purpose. I don't understand why Nelson Young built that building at the end of the street. They could have leased the land right across the street from their other property. And number 2, the stop and go light. You got a green arrow at that stop and go light. Turn it on. Between 6 and 9 in the morning and from 2:30 until 6 o'clock in the evening. You got people I've almost been hit several times. Taking a left-hand turn. People are trying to take a left-hand turn and then they're forward and the guys on the left-hand turn are trying to wait for people to come across the road. They sneak out. I see the road open, I make a left-hand turn. They sneak out and they jam on the gas. What's gonna happen? Is that something gotta get killed before they turn that green arrow on? And number 3, we do not have enough handicap parking at the grade school. We got 2 persons with wheelchairs that have to go all the way across the parking lot, go across the road, up the hill, even get close to the school to get up to pick up their kids. We got people parking in the handicap area and I asked them to move. She would not move. Several would move. I said, would you please move? I need that. I need that parking spot. I'm here to pick up my child. I don't care. There's no law. There's people still parking in front of the school in the fire lane. Nothing's ever been done about it. No citation, nothing. If you didn't nip it right in the butt on the first day, we wouldn't have this problem. But the handicap problem and the stop and go light is a very dangerous situation. I don't understand why you guys don't turn that green arrow on for a left-hand turn. Especially when those, I don't know if you guys live in town or not, but I see it every day. It's congested at that point in time in the morning and that time in the evening. People are coming home, they're frustrated, they're pissed off, especially in the morning if they're running late. They don't care. Someone's gonna get killed before anybody gets turned that. Turn the light on. That's what it's there for. And I challenge every one of you to go up there in that parking lot and get in a wheelchair and wheel it all the way across the parking lot, across the road, up the hill to the school and up to the door. I challenge every one of you to do that. I challenge every one of you to do that. The handicap parking in front of the high school is right in front, or right by the door. In the middle school, it's right in the parking lot, right in front of the door. But the grade school isn't, it's in a parking lot over a block away. And they have no cops up there, they don't enforce the law, those citations haven't been written. I'd like to know why. Really, I'm challenging every one of you, get in your wheelchair and wheel yourself across the parking lot, cross the road, up the hill, and go up into the doors of the children, to pick up your child. I challenge every one of you to do it.
You know, we can't discuss any of this because it's not on the agenda, but we will look into the parking issue. And
There's 6 of us need handicap, there's only 3 spots.
does the school regulate that?
To do,
So,
but I'll bring it up to our school resource officer, let him know about it.
The same people park in that spot on Firelight Lane every day. I have never seen a citation ever written yet.
We'll definitely take a look at it.
and the stoplights, those are run by the DOT.
Yep.
The green arrows on there to clear the northbound lanes for when the trains are coming. That's why that's on there. It's only on the one.
It is congested between 3, like I said, between 6 and 9. And between 2:30 and 6 o'clock every night. You got guys coming on 59, 51. Coming off the interstate, everything's all jammed up, everybody wants to get home.
It's not gonna do any good from them other 3 angles. It's only on the northbound on 51. That's the only green arrow that's on it.
But it's about time we got changed.
Yeah, that was the DOT.
Like I said, someone's gonna get killed.
Mr. Hinkle, in order for anything to get done, we have to be aware of it, and now we are aware of it. We appreciate you bringing it to us. We will definitely look into
What about
the,
the situation with the fork trucks and semis going down the road?
that'll be, we can look into, but I didn't know anything about the school. We'll look into that. The chief will be looking at it.
They got wide roads, so they have to look, going across their cars.
We can request the Department of Transportation look into the intersection. That's the best we can do. We will look into it. I didn't know anything about your handicap situation. We will definitely look into that also. But it's a school issue we can bring up with them. But as far as that goes, since it's not on the agenda, we cannot have a real conversation about it. We can just tell you, we will look into everything you brought up. Appreciate it.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
You guys supposed to be working for the people. Do your jobs, please. I'm challenging you right now. Get in a wheelchair and go across that parking lot. And go up that hill. And go up to the school. I challenge every one of you to do that.
Thanks, sir.
You're on, that's good.
Well, hello, everyone. My name is Jenna Jacobson, and I am the representative to the 43rd Assembly District in the state legislature. And that includes the city of Edmonton, and I'm excited to be here to say hello. And I have brought with me the 23-24 copies of the Blue Book. So city council folks, you shall have a copy at your desk. And for anybody watching online, if you would like a copy, you can visit my website at repjennajacobson.com and request a Blue Book or a flag, or if you would like to reach out about any state level issues or help navigating a state agency like the DOT, you can give me a holler that way, as well as just sharing your feedback on any pieces of legislation that are coming up before us or any issues that are important to you. We're happy to hear about that. So thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you give me a flag for over the Capitol on my birthday?
Yes, I can. When's your birthday?
Thank you. That's not using my birthday.
No, it's one of the cooler things we get to do.
Bill, is that okay if I ask that?
Yeah, I think you're lucky you didn't go first.
Anyone else? Okay, let's move on to minutes from September 18th.
I'll make a motion to approve. I'll second.
Motion and a second to approve the minutes. Any corrections or additions? Hearing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Committee reports, finance,
Finance Committee met earlier this evening. I'll make a motion to approve the pay request number 2 for Archie Fox for the Quigley Street Utility Improvement Project in the amount of $71,957.69.
I'll second.
motion and a second to pay RT Fox for Quigley Street. Any discussion? None, roll call.
Shaw,
Yes.
Candy Davis,
Yes.
Langen,
Yes.
Preble,
Yes.
Paul Davis,
Yes.
Burdick,
Yes.
Motion passes.
Make a motion to approve bills and payroll in the amount of $386,807.73.
I'll second it. Motion and second to pay the bills. Any questions on the bills? Okay.
Page 10. So it was just, I don't recall whether or not, but I see we've got a 1, 2, 3, 4, one of $7,000 for boards and screws for racetrack work benches. I don't remember the approval of that. I guess I don't know what we doing out there. The lumber at Home Depot.
This is a rotary project, so
Oh,
this will all be reimbursed by the Rotary Club.
oh,
We're buying tax exempt for the city, so we can make improvements to racetrack park at the dance floor.
oh. Okay, okay. What else? 7, page 7. Just could somebody clarify the, right in the middle there with the in and out of the fire protection district?
That was a grant, so we get that deposited into our account and then it goes directly to the fire district.
Oh, the flexion, okay. And then we did it twice?
Yeah, so actually the state paid us twice accidentally in the exact same amount, so we should have only had one. So we cut one to the fire district and then one back to where the grant came from.
Did they catch it or did we rat ourselves? Just, no, that's fine.
I should have asked for that before we appointed her.
Yeah, I guess we're real confident. And the body cams, chief, I'm just gonna say, you can see you got your body cams in
Yes,
and your server is up there.
it is. We had received a matching state grant. And we felt that it was best to get a server now when we could get half of it paid for through the grant, as opposed to paying a reoccurring cloud space and then having to buy a server after a 5-year service agreement. So that's why we got it now, where we got half of it paid for. We also received a little over $7,000 in a drug seizure that we'll be using for these body cams. So the cost of replacing these body cams that we'll have for a long time is pretty much negligible compared to some of the costs nowadays. So that's where all this money went to. And we'll be selling our old ViView cameras, body cams, as soon as, all the officers are up and running. We got one officer who's been out on sick leave. Once she gets back and gets acclimated, we'll put those up for sale.
Thanks. What's the expected life of the new ones? Just the expected life of the new ones?
No, they're pretty, they are pretty durable. And we have one officer in particular has big hands, and he even said it's gonna last him for a while.
Thanks, chief.
Anyone else? Roll
Shaw,
Yes.
Preble,
Yes.
Langen,
Yes.
Candy Davis,
Yes.
Paul Davis,
Yes.
Burdick,
Yeah.
call.
Make a motion to approve the event packet for the Home of the Holidays for the holiday celebration on November 25th.
I'll second. Second for the event packet for home holidays, any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Shaw,
Yes.
Kribel,
Yes.
Langen,
Yes.
Andy Davis,
Abstain.
Paul Davis,
Yes.
Burdick,
Yes.
Motion passes 5 with 1 abstention.
Make a motion to approve the funding for the holiday tree lighting at the depot in the amount of $3,461 from the Economic Development Fund.
I'll second. Second for the tree lighting. Any discussion?
In the past, this would be paid for typically by a downtown TIF, correct? Correct. And now, because we're in between downtown TIFs, that's why we're taking it out of that fund, which there's still 60-some thousand in, so we're good. Okay.
Unless we can find some corporate sponsor that wants to help on that sometime. Never looked into that way.
No, I'm not in.
what, I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
Throw it out for corporate sponsors.
I don't know if it's ever been put out there,
Right.
but not a bad
Seems
idea.
reasonable.
Yeah. See if there's any interest, I guess.
Okay, any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Shaw,
Yes.
Kribel,
Yes.
Langen,
Yes.
Candy Davis,
Abstain.
Paul Davis,
Yes.
Burdick,
Yes.
Motion passes 5 in favor and 1 abstention.
Make a motion to approve the change of agent for Quick Trip Inc., DBA Stop and Go, agent Nicholas Cutler.
I'll second. Motion is second for change of agent at Quick Trip in the business of Stop and Go. Any discussion? Here's none, roll call.
Shaw,
Yes.
Kribel,
Yes.
Langen,
Yes.
Candy Davis,
Yes.
Paul Davis,
Yes.
Burdick,
Yes.
Motion passes.
Make a motion to approve a incentive payment to 2 Burdick Street for 2/3 the incentive for the amount of $33,333.
Second.
Motion second for the 2 Burdick Street incentive. Any discussion?
I have a question of the 150 for the purchase of that building, that includes this 50, that was out of TIF, was it not?
Correct.
It's not a standalone economic development incentive in this TIF. Do we have, what is our timeline on that for clearing the books on that TIF?
The expenditure period is over, as you know. The current proposal or projection is 2027 or 2028 that TIF district will create or collect enough increment to pay off its debts.
Were you asking how long can we be paying out of that?
Yeah, because we've been encouraging the facade grant
Get it over to
to get their work done. Are we dragging this out longer potentially? Is there an upside to just getting it cleared and paid sooner than later?
There was a deadline as part of the motion.
So I realized as you guys
Yes.
started talking, I didn't add that to my motion. So do you want to continue? So I will be amending my motion to say that the remaining incentive will be, depending on that occupancy, by December 31st of this year.
Yes, and I second this is my motion. Okay, I have another question though. I was looking for more detail about what is left. What is the 1/3 or the third space that doesn't have occupancy yet? What is it potentially part of the hospital project?
My understanding is there's a signed lease on it already. It's gonna be clinic space.
Okay,
So the hospital will be taking that part of the building also, just isn't finished yet, and I think it has to do with timing of the elevator. Is why there can't be an occupancy permit yet. I'm not sure what all the details are, but my understanding is the hospital will be taking that space and they have it.
so what I was thinking when I listened to your discussion is maybe it all gets done sooner over there for the hospital and the clinic space, if he has the full 50,000. we can get it all done.
And I guess my thinking was, is that be nice to have that carrot still out there, right, in 2 to 3 months. Then as long as it's done, then we pay the remainder. I was thinking more of the carrot aspect.
And, you know, it's been a long road with that project. I'm kind of to the point now, if he doesn't finish it and collect rent, and what are we out anymore? I mean, the majority of the work that we wanted to see done, I think, is done. I mean, the onus is on him to do the elevator. So, I don't know, I just kind of think he'll put the money to work.
And you should have
Faster.
33
Yeah.
to do that. Which, you know, yeah, I mean, it's fair, I just think that, I thought this was the right way to go.
Right, yeah, that's just what I would have asked during finance, I just don't know anymore if the carrot's working, if it might just be easier to just.
It might be, but then again, if it doesn't do it, then we save $17,000.
Well,
Potentially, right?
is that right, though? We've committed 50.
Only if he gets an occupancy permit by the deadline and it has the right value, that's what you're.
But you're changing, okay, but we're bumping the deadline down to December 31st.
For the third one.
That's what finance is, correct.
So we aren't. Okay, I'm kind of leaning with you on, just give them the money, let them get the elevator and get it going.
But what
Sit right
was
now.
the deal? And
No.
occupancy, did we say for the whole building, or did we say one, which year he has 2?
We didn't anticipate at the time that there would be several occupancy permits. No one could have predicted that it would have played out this way. It was gonna be apartments and commercial space, we wouldn't have known. So the agreement is an occupancy permit, because we would assume that the building would have an occupancy permit, but he has done it in stages and has received permits for each different unit.
Could he sue us?
I don't. He's given no indication that he is going to. Can he? Yes. Anyone can sue him. So whether he be successful or not is another question. I don't think he's hit value yet.
But, yeah, the assessor has said he's reached the $250,000 threshold.
That's why I asked that, because he could say, that's not what you said in your original.
Occupancy plus value.
Right. By the original October 31st.
Question what?
The full 50.
Oh, sure, he requested that a year ago.
And before you had.
Yes.
Before you qualify.
Now you have standing.
Yes, now it qualifies.
Yes, I think that he may have a cause of action should he choose to serve.
So you can burn through 17,000.
Yeah, right.
So,
So if somebody makes an amendment now to make the whole thing 50.
yeah, I'll do that, can I make amend the motion, or do we have?
That would be a proper amendment.
Okay. I'd like to amend the motion to pay the full $50,000 incentive.
Okay, so we'll vote on that amendment first.
Correct.
Okay, motion and a second to amend the payment to $50,000. Any discussion on that?
So there's no question that he has fulfilled his.
He hasn't gotten an occupancy for the whole building, that's. the
Right,
piece
but
that's
I mean,
The terms of the agreement were.
so how important is the word "and" occupancy? Literally, he has an occupancy. And is that how it's
Yeah,
looked at?
I think it is, and the more important in my eyes is the threshold valuation. So just with 1 or 2, he's hit the 2 primary goals.
You can argue that if we meant full occupancy, we would have said full occupancy.
I would make that argument if I were, yes. I will say that the intent was that he have full occupancy, but did say that because we were looking at it as if it was a unified project.
Any further discussion on the amendment? None, we'll take a vote on the amendment to increase the payment to the 50,000. Roll call.
Langen,
Yes.
Burdick,
Yes.
Paul Davis,
Yes.
Shaw,
No.
Candy Davis,
No.
Langen, I'm sorry, Preble,
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Oh, bet you're glad.
Motion passes.
See which way you're gonna go.
Yeah.
I was gonna, yes. Kelly, that just would be done with it. so.
I get it.
Yeah, one more chance.
Either way, I get that. I just, we've been through so much with him. It's like, really?
Okay, so we still have another motion on it.
Okay. Okay.
AM now, we got a dollar amount in there, which would probably eliminate the October 31st amendment that you, or the December 31st amendment.
That's correct.
we still have to vote on the 2/3, yeah, I mean, Tim made a motion to pay 2/3 of the
But that was.
So that was just modified to 50,000.
50, okay.
Pay it all now.
So now it's just, yeah.
by the December 31st, okay.
That actually is no longer relevant.
Yeah,
that's
Right.
not an issue.
So it's just paying.
So. Paying the 50,000 is pretty much the motion right now.
Yeah.
Correct.
Any further discussion on that?
No, we're voting to pay him, not necessarily, because I don't agree with 50, but we agreed to the 50, so now it's pay him.
Yeah, correct. Which you still don't have to vote in favor of.
Well, not
in favor of.
That's fine.
Well, I don't think we were arguing that he doesn't
That's
deserve to
right.
be paid, it was a matter of the amount.
That's right.
Yeah,
But you can still say no.
well, don't tell me what I can say.
Let me turn this the other way before I answer that.
We like to give staff a lot of fun when they're typing the minutes, we like to, yeah.
I thought the representative, you know, fireworks at our
Yeah.
Sitting right here,
Right.
before me for it tonight.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, the motion is to pay 50,000 to Burdick Street. Any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Shaw,
Yes.
Candy Davis.
Yes.
Langen,
Yes.
Preble,
Yes.
Paul Davis,
Yes.
Burdick.
Motion passes. I was waiting for you to split that. Okay.
We do, we have a couple of things, so I'll make a motion to declare the city hall typewriter as surplus and get whatever we can get.
And
I will second that.
okay, motion in a second. From the typewriter, any discussions? Hearing none, roll call.
Shaw,
Yes.
Candy Davis.
Yes.
Langen,
Yes.
Preble,
Yes.
Paul Davis.
Yes.
Burdick.
Yes.
Motion passes.
I'll make a motion to approve City of Edgerton Resolution 27-23 Urban Forestry Grant application.
I'll second it. Motion in a second to approve City of Edgerton Resolution 27-23. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Shaw,
Yes.
Preble,
Yes.
Langen,
Yes.
Candy Davis.
Yes.
Paul Davis,
Yes.
Burdick.
Yes.
Motion passes.
That was all for finance.
Thank you. Fire district.
Yeah, a couple things before I turn it over to Steve. We have a budget workshop that the fire district commissioners will be holding on Wednesday, October 11th. And then we have our regular monthly board meeting on Thursday, October 12th. And at that meeting, we have ceremony of swearing in of, they're not interns, they're new.
The probationary firefighters from the last
Yes.
year.
So we have a swearing in ceremony, which means cake and ice cream. And she passed the stats.
How do you follow cake and ice
Yeah, they're really, no kidding.
cream? Members of the board have a copy of the report. I did gray out all the other municipalities and just left Edgerton's numbers there. It's not that they all don't have numbers, it's that great amount because it doesn't really matter to you. Overall, another very busy month, second busiest month in district history. only missed it by 2 calls to be the busiest. You kind of see the breakdown, nothing really stands out all that much. You see the simultaneous incidents. I got asked a question, so I've just been trying to answer this. With the Edgerton station and the Milton station, when we talk about simultaneous incidents, that is not an issue happening in Edgerton and an issue happening in Milton. The simultaneous means there are multiple incidents happening in Edgerton. So that's what that means.
And I'm sorry, just to elaborate on that, is it just Edgerton or Edgerton?
The
one of the other
Edgerton
ones?
portion of the district, so
Of the
the
district, yeah.
western,
Yep.
no, good clarification, so Fulton, Albion, Sunderford. Yep, no, good clarification. So then if you look down, we did have one structure fire, it was in, the town of Milton. For the month, city of Edgerton, 46 calls for the month. It's actually a little below average, right? It's 25% of the calls in the district, or the division, average is about 27%. So I think a lot of that gets driven, obviously, you know, September and August are tourism season, and so there was a lot of activity out in the Fulton, Smallwood, area, basically, which is what we see quite a bit now. Fire inspections are doing really well, so nothing there. Personnel, I just want to point out a couple of things down under it says August updates, I gotta change that September. 2 more of our younger individuals that we've been sponsoring as part of the Grow Our Own program. 2 more of them have now passed their national registry for paramedic, which is a grueling, but it's a great accomplishment. So that brings us up to 19 paramedics on staff, as well as 2 additional critical care paramedics. So that whole program of Grow Our Own is working really well. Backside, you know, only thing that really matters, go to the bottom right-hand corner and it's green. I did point out to a couple of other municipalities, you'll notice that number goes up and down month to month. And it's not like that's really how the budget works, except we have 26 pay periods. And so there's a couple of months each year where we have 3 pay periods versus 2, so it puts a pretty big swing in those numbers. But we're doing well there. Comment on the garage fire. A couple of things I just wanted to point out. The first one under the special activities. I had an opportunity a couple of weekends ago to be part of a nationwide roundtable on the crisis in the public safety, first response EMS world, basically, across the whole country. And I know I've complimented our communities for the courage to be out front and trying to keep us with our heads above water, which we are. That's getting recognized. And what's really happening is people both in the state and around the Midwest are asking the question, how are you guys doing it? Because there are places where the EMS system is just plain falling apart. There's an entire county right now in the state of Wisconsin where the EMS provider said, we're done. We can't do this. We can't do it. So a lot of attention being paid to how we're keeping our head above water. And I think that's just a nice compliment to our municipalities that have had the courage to get ahead of this instead of letting us fall into a crisis and then having to dig our way out of it. So compliment to those municipalities that have been helpful. I was going to comment on the budget as I was going by the numbers, and I actually asked Jenna to stay because I wanted to compliment her publicly. Ramon and I, we have a lot of discussion about net new construction, CPI +2, what we're eligible for, what we're not eligible for. Because of some kind of nobody saw it coming kind of language in state statute, we're not eligible for CPI +2 this year under that current language. So I reached out to Jenna and her counterparts in the Assembly, as well as her counterpart over in the Senate. They are actually trying to work on, I don't want to say an emergency correction to the language, but an expedited correction to that language. Nobody, you know, 25 years ago when that language was written, ever saw what was gonna happen. But I do appreciate, and I wanted to thank Jenna for her and her counterparts' works trying to help us address it, so. And then, the last, thing's kind of a takeoff on the whole Notre Dame thing. I gotta find a better publicist, I guess. I got invited to be part of a panel now at the Wisconsin League of Municipalities. Because they are literally at their annual conference, because they're wrestling with the same thing within the state that everybody else is across. And so the question keeps getting asked, how are you guys doing? So that'll be on later in October. All I got.
Hey, real quick question, should this entrance 311, is that the one that we?
Yeah, that's the one you got a really bad stomach feeling about the potential
So
cost.
it's not so bad.
No, it's not.
I'm
No, it's
like,
not.
I just wanted to make sure that was the same one.
Normally, those who understand diesel engines, anytime you find radiator fluid in the oil, or you find oil in the, right, you start to think really big numbers. It did not turn out, it was a single part that was causing the leak back and forth.
Wonderful, good,
We lucked out on that.
good, glad to hear it, thank you so much.
Yes. Yeah.
Real quick, Chief, I know we've been doing great with this, maintaining, getting staffing with the Grow Your Own. We've been doing that a few years now, and it's been working great, but don't other places not push that as much as we, because we seem like we grow our own, we maintain quite a few, and they always backfill whoever does take off. So we've been doing really well at maintaining our staffing by doing that.
It takes a tremendous amount of work when you have young people that come in with no education and, right, and so, and I'm trying, it's a good thing Sam's not here, I probably say this and I don't have to worry about seeing it on the front page of the paper.
Oh, yeah, he's listening.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of places where their personnel can't get their head around it and understand the importance of teaching the next generation, right? I'm here to work, and at 8 AM the next morning, I wanna go home, and the only thing I wanna do is get on a fire truck and go spray water, right? That the cadet program, the intern program take a tremendous amount of effort by our staff investing in that next generation. And so we are blessed to have a staff that gets their head around it. Most other, well, I shouldn't say this, a lot of other places are scared to death of it because it's so hard and they're just afraid of having to work hard to make it work.
So it's a double whammy, they either don't have enough staff to spend the time doing it to get the staff.
It gives them the extra time to then complain about the fact they don't have staff. Then there's you're right. Yeah, it is, I look at what our guys and gals, right, do, which is kind of another interesting thing. One of our crews, which is now an all-female crew, the 4 members of the crew, all female paramedics and firefighter EMTs, is actually getting interviewed for a national program. They just found that very interesting, that we have an all-female crew on duty for 24 hours and
Interviewed to talk about how wonderful it is, not interviewed for another position.
I know,
why is it so good?
I mean, you talk about the culture, you talk about, what we've done to try to make that, very, very useful. Good question.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
And that's it for.
Thank you.
Historic.
Historic met Monday, September 25th at 5:30. Discussed 3 items. First off, certificate of appropriateness for 11 Canal Street. They want to paint the exterior of the structure. That was approved. 102 West Fulton Street. They wanted to replace the main doors and 3 doors in Henry Street side of the building. They also got their certificate of appropriateness. And finally, 104 West Fulton Street. They were looking to replace a couple of windows and trim on the rear side of the building. And that also received a certificate of appropriateness. So it was, everybody was happy that. That's what we had.
All right, thank you. Personnel.
Yeah, personnel met twice actually since the last time we had a council meeting. The first meeting was September 18th, where we talked, we're getting our numbers together for budget discussion. Health insurance, has increased by 11%, which is way high this year. And that equated out to being an increase of $101.23 a month per employee. So that's a huge jump, and also that equates out to 58 cents an hour. So, through discussion of the, personnel committee, we propose paying, we put in the budget, paying that 58 cents per hour increase to each employee, giving that increase to them to help offset the cost of the insurance. So when we go through our budget numbers, our recommendation is in there. The committee also proposed no change for dental insurance. The committee also proposed, and you'll see this in our budgeting numbers, a 3.2% across the board wage increase. And we also had a small discussion on staff retention efforts, but realized that was something that we wanted to have more detail discussion at a future meeting. For the October 2nd meeting, which was tonight earlier, the committee is recommending, I want to do this first because we moved a couple things around. We're recommending a promotion of Maddie Deegan to the vacant city treasurer position. So I will make that actually a motion.
I'll second.
Motion to second to, appoint Eddie Deegan as the city treasurer. Any discussion?
She's excited about it, just so you know.
Okay, roll call.
Candy Davis.
Yes.
Shaw.
Yes.
Paul Davis.
Yes.
Burdick.
Yes.
Preble.
Yes.
Langen.
Yes.
Motion passes. Congratulations.
No, it won't.
Okay, and because of that, then the committee, personnel committee, also recommends not backfilling the administrative assistant position that was vacated by Maddie. But some of those responsibilities that she was doing, she may continue to take into her position. So we're not gonna backfill it at this time, but we're not going to make that go away. What's the?
Still budgeted.
Oh, it is still budgeted for in the event that in the future, they see that staff cannot juggle everything without that position. So it would be a 20-hour per week position. But by not, by doing that, shifting some things around, we have seen savings of $37,000. But we're gonna continue to budget for that 20-hour per month position, but we're not gonna fill it right now. And staff will continue to keep the personnel committee posted in case, just to let us know how things are going. Also, I'll make a motion to approve the personnel policy regarding retiree health insurance bank residual payout.
I'll second.
Motion to second to approve the personal policy. Bank residual payout. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Candy Davis.
Yes.
Shaw.
Yes.
Paul Davis.
Yes.
Burdick.
Yes.
Preble.
Yes.
Langen.
Yes.
Motion passes.
And that's it for personnel.
Thank you.
Just throw in real quick, as Kenny briefly mentioned, we discussed other issues that we're gonna have at another meeting that will contain about the personnel policies. They were non-budgeted items, so that's why we didn't bring them up tonight. Like just changing personnel policy issues, as you'll get those back later. But that's why when she said we skipped some of that we think it needs more time for just those issues. So we'll cover that later.
And is to consider approval of the 2024 joint powers agreement with Rock County 911 Communications.
So we'll-
Motion and second to approve 2024 joint powers agreement. Any discussion?
I think we did that last year, right? Yeah.
Roll call.
Burdick,
Yes.
Langen,
Yes.
Kribel,
Yes.
Candy Davis,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Paul Davis,
Motion passes. Next item is consider City of Edgerton White Cane Safety Day proclamation.
So more.
I'll second.
Motion and second to approve City of Edgerton White Cane Safety Day proclamation. Any discussion?
And we only do it one day? Everybody's doing it?
You have the whiskey.
Never mind. Casey's answered my questions. We're good. Thanks, Casey.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Okay, consider 2024 budget.
All right, we'll go through the highlights. I think probably maybe the most important thing to start with is we're still missing a few pieces of the puzzle that probably need to be ironed out before we move to the bottom line. It doesn't look like it's going to be really difficult to get to a bottom line, which is good news. Fire district is one thing we're waiting on, we talked about earlier. The Parks Committee still needs to meet and go through their projects to prioritize. But we can go through a few items that were requested at the last meeting as a way of explaining some of the questions we had regarding capital projects. So on the first page of the budget memo is the 10-year capital plan. You may recall we reviewed that at the last meeting. It was requested, what would it look like if you borrowed $2 million now or soon to do a bunch of projects now? What would that do? What would the impact be? So what is in your packet is a list of projects similar to what you've seen in the past, is what could be done in what year, knowing that all of these capital projects it will just take one big grant from a project to shift everything around, but from what we can see right now, that list is in your packet. There's also a repayment schedule, which has been strategized so that in the years when we have high debt payments, which is the next 3 or 4, the debt payments are scheduled to equal the $150,000 in extra income we will have from shared revenue, so as to not impact taxes. And then it's backloaded, so it's that makes it a more expensive borrowing because it's a 10-year repayment plan with backloaded payments. So that ends up with, given interest rates and given that characteristic of that debt, that leaves us with, it's not a cheap thing to do. But it does give you the ability to do more projects sooner. So in your packet is also a couple of very rudimentary maps that hopefully graphically take that list and make it into a format that may be easier to compare. So the other alternative that is in your packet is, instead of borrowing up front, it's a kind of pay-as-you-go. So that means this extra $150,000 in shared revenue every year, instead of paying a debt payment, is paying for projects. So I would say in comparing the two scenarios in the end, the projects are done sooner with borrowing up front. That's logical, and it plays out that way. There one project and one piece of equipment get pushed off, I'd say, the back of the schedule in the pay-as-you-go, meaning it won't fit in where it would fit in with borrow up front. Now, as you get to if you go to the next layer, another 5 years out, then you're ahead in the end because you haven't had the debt service payment all of those interest charges that you've incurred along the way. And then the third item in the list of the two comparisons are the finance charges in the borrow up front. Obviously, you don't have those in the pay-as-you-go. So while we can have as much discussion as you wish about that, we can try to answer all your questions. These decisions really aren't, this decision of when or if to borrow isn't critical to this budget. Because even if we borrowed next year, we wouldn't have a debt payment until 2025. So that means all of our decisions about next year are either for projects that are paid for by the current borrowing, the funds from the proceeds from the current borrowing that we have, and funds that we have, the extra shared revenue we have coming in. So the 2024 budget is really not impacted by a borrowing. So my suggestion, certainly you could make decisions, but if you wanna wait till early next year, we can see what rates are doing. We can have an idea if we're putting in like 4 or 5 grant applications in the next 3 weeks. We'll have an idea about if any of those resulted in anything, because that will, some of those big projects, as we talked about, will shift the schedule dramatically if we were to get a 50% for IKI or a 90% for IKI or something like that. So your call, but I think it would not be a problem at all to wait until early in the next year to make that decision about whether or not we want to move forward with that borrowing. So questions on that anytime as we talk about this, I'm happy to try to answer.
Just that interest cost just seems awful high for 10 years. Not paying anything on it for the first few years.
Yes, we're paying, the schedule's in the packet. So it shows $150,000 in the first couple of years. And then it is, you know, like I said, it's backloaded with, you get into almost $400,000 payments in the last 2 years. So, I didn't do this one, this is done by our financial advisor, so I'm not taking any credit for it. 4.6% is the interest rate that is, indicated to be, this estimation if we were to borrow next year.
The total cost would be almost $800,000. And
So
just
40% of the two.
I'm only going on what's here. So I can ask Kevin to verify that's accurate. Yeah,
That's a waste. Pay that much in interest.
Yeah.
That's a street.
I thought I was misreading it, and I thought, how much, 1,800%, yeah, almost 800 grand.
I will verify that with Kevin. Again, no matter whether it's how big the number is, there obviously are finance charges.
The only thing I was, you know, one of the pluses would be ask what the cost of keeping the streets up are over the 10 years as opposed to getting a fix for the first couple. And if that would offset some of that, but that, I don't think it offset $800,000.
Right.
I mean, that's a lot to try and offset.
Big number.
No, I'll ask Kevin to verify
I
that.
don't know where it came from.
Okay, the next items are just kind of notes that probably don't warrant a lot of conversation. The levy limit, this year's levy limit increase due to an increase in net new growth as well as retiring TIF is higher than it has been in the past several years at just over $100,000. The one note about the fire district is that, as you may or may not know, what the chief was referring to is the provision in the levy limits that if the fire district complies with a certain threshold, we call it CPI +2, then whatever levy impact they have on us gets to be added on top. They cannot comply this year unless there's some change made to the law or exception made, because the fire district budget is gonna more than double this year because of the consolidation. So we knew this was coming. So this year, our levy increase of $108,000 will be shared with the fire district in that instance. So what they do has an impact definitely on what we do this year, more so than usual. So the fire district, according to the IGA, in the interpretation of the IGA, the increase the fire district, the maximum increase the fire district could submit in charges to the municipalities in total is just under 2%. Unless the 7 members of the 7-member communities vote to exceed that threshold. So there's debate right now as to what the fire district budget will look like. I'm sure our representatives will be keeping an eye on that to let us know how that will play out. But that is an issue that is unresolved right now in our budget until they resolve their budget. Katie mentioned the impacts on health insurance. I think the big message there is while the impact on the city is very minimal for the increase, it's because of the way the statutes are written regarding the maximum amount municipalities can pay. So all of the increased costs almost entirely are pushed to the employees. And Candy mentioned the personnel committee's recommendation and what is then included in this budget to try to address some of those increased employee health insurance costs as well as the across the board wage increase. Election worker wages, there's some data in your packet about what we pay our election workers and what some of our neighboring communities pay our election workers. So, if there's any, right now, the budget includes the proposed rate, which is the bottom of the second page of your memo, of an increase in election workers from $7.25 an hour to 10, and chief inspector from $7.25 to 12. So as we work through the budget, if you don't agree with those numbers and want those modified, we'll take your motions and make the adjustments as necessary, but we wanted to alert you to the fact that we thought that was in order to get people to work the election and reward them for the really important work that they do, that sometimes can be now not as fun as it used to be. We think that that is a reasonable increase.
And the donuts were kind
Yeah.
I did see we had an ad out looking for election workers. How short are we, or?
Well, we're not really
We don't
short.
know yet.
I mean, well, I mean, I have a good list. It's just a matter of who's available on each election. I mean, I wouldn't say that we're short on election workers, but we're tight. I mean, I could always use extra.
And this year, there's 4 elections. so
There's
that
4
makes it
elections,
tougher.
Yeah.
Where you only have 1 or 2, you usually have quite a few people that'll help you, right? But when you're tapping them 4 times.
Some of them really love to work
Yeah.
every single election and some of them don't. So,
So 4 of them in 2024,
Yeah.
4 this year.
4 in 2024.
24.
Yeah.
We're done this year. We don't have any more this year.
We don't have November?
There's
Next
no
year.
November. Next year, there's 4.
But every November. Yeah, some sort of.
Then there's a list of other available funds that we always try to make sure you're up to date on. So that regarding the schedule, we have one more regular meeting. At the end of the month, by October 30th, we have to have a legal notice in the paper. That legal notice has to be relatively close to what the final budget will look like. So given that we have one more full council meeting, the fire district is expected to adopt their budget on the 12th. We should have that information on the 16th. So my expectation is that it will not be a huge effort, nor require a bunch of special meetings in order to get to where we need to be by the end of the month. So that being said, the next page in your packet is that capital list that is kind of the, I'll say the more discretionary things that are added into the budget. We usually spend a lot of time when it comes time to trying to find a way to make the budget work. Looking at these kind of items. Parks is gonna meet next week. And their items that are listed here on the parks really haven't been debated to or prioritized by the Parks Committee and need to be. So they need to do that, and we'll have some additional information then on your October 16th draft. And at that point, we're anticipating we should have all of the remaining pieces of the puzzle available so that we kind of have a really solid bottom line. So we could go through any of those capital items that you have any questions on. We have all of the department heads in the room here to answer any of those questions you may have. Many of the things the committees that have met have talked about these already. So I'll stop there.
Small instances, does that say fun umbrella?
And they're not $3,000 anymore.
Oh, poor Ann.
I knew it.
Seems best on this year.
We're up to speed right now.
So Beth, there's nothing next to a furnace for the library.
No, at this point, I just kind of wanted to keep it on the radar. We don't have any kind of estimate of what it will cost.
That's why I asked you, so that everybody heard it.
Yep, just keeping it on your radar that someday that furnace is gonna die and we're not gonna be able to resurrect it, so.
Howard, the chipper? Tell me about the chipper. Chips wood, I know.
So you shove a branch in the one side.
So
Chips
what
come
about
out the other.
the one we have now is,
The one we have out now is, it's still functioning, but it's long in the tooth, and, I think it's time to start looking at replacing it. I was a little surprised at the number that I got as, as a quote, but everything's more expensive than it used to be, so.
Yeah.
They do last a while. It wouldn't be the kind of thing we'd buy and then in, 10 years we'd be back looking for another one. I think they'd last a good 20 years at least.
How much do you think we get for the,
The existing one? Hard to say. If I had to guess, I would say somewhere in the neighborhood of maybe 15 to 20.
yeah, okay. And then, 1/3 sewer pickup truck for plowing, tell me what that is.
So the sewer department has one of their pickup trucks is a 96. So it's been around for quite a while. It's again on its last leg. We currently have one pickup truck in the city's fleet that has a plow. That is not the one we're getting rid of. However, last year, Zach, who was a sewer department employee, did all of our parking lot plowing. So this is a case where we would replace the 96 pickup truck with a 3/4 ton pickup truck that had a plow with it in preparation of our existing plow truck that's had significant transmission issues we've been dealing with over the last few years. So eventually he's gonna fail and, for a short time, we'll have two of them.
Okay.
We'll be able to plow with two trucks, which will be a positive thing.
The police vehicle, it's the type you want. It says net trade-in
now.
and grant, so.
For now. We're still working on the one that got crashed.
Right.
So we got a couple ideas and I'll definitely let you guys know what route we're going
What
with
did you feel
the
good about?
hybrids. Oh, the hybrids are saving us money and since that crash, they've all been working fine. I don't get it. Somebody's downloading something on there. They're working fine.
So since we've already, all the numbers we need.
Yeah.
Is it worth looking to see if there's anything we want to hit for a target or?
I don't take any direction regarding cuts, regarding things you want us to investigate, anything that would be helpful when you get to, I think, the next meeting, much decision.
I'd like to know what we start, what our numbers are before I start. I don't know. I mean, there's nothing on here that I see as grossly over exaggerated that, like, if we were looking for 3 patrol cars or 2 chippers, that'd be different, but, I mean,
The radar units are well over 20 years apiece. The radios that I put in there are well over 20 years apiece.
Yeah.
So I'm putting in for 2 new radars this year and 2 new radios this year, and then I'll put in for 2 to have them replaced, and then we're good for a long time. And the radars, they pay for themselves if you think about it.
yeah.
Plenty of opportunities to do that.
Well, because we do participate in state grants for both OWI and speed with Janesville and several of the other departments, as well as the city of Beloit. So city of Beloit has a grant for OWI with which we participate in. And city of Janesville has a speed grant that we participate in also.
So it looks like in 2022, we had total general fund expenditures of 3.9 million. And we're expecting this year, the projection of 23 is going to be 4.2. So obviously that's pretty significant. And the budget was for 3.9, so we're 300. Right. Now, having said that, from what Maddie told us during finance, is we've got 80% of our revenue, and that's mainly because of interest is coming in. We should put those numbers numbers lining up and being okay? Does my question make sense?
Is it the change from last year to this year expenses is your
Is my
primary?
question.
Okay, and then those expenses are, we have a $200,000 revenue source, and we're spending $150,000 of that on roads. So the road budget is a big chunk of that money. And the other available revenue is the increase in, levy limit afforded to us by the levy, and that's bigger this year. So we have tried to take, I mean, there's a lot of capital projects on this list that are sizable, that are currently, looks like many of them are able to be funded in current dollars, where many of these things in years where they're much tighter, they either get pushed off another year, or we have to look for alternative funding sources. So, again, when we get to the next meeting at the bottom line, I think you'll have a better idea of, I'm not surprised that the expenses are that much higher, because we have that much more available in revenue in this year.
Do we vote at some point on when you look at the Albion Street project in 2024 from Ridgeway to Rollin, whether it's in the pay it as you go or the borrow up front scenarios? Do we need to at some point formalize that 156,000 and change comes out of the shared revenue increase?
That will be part of your budget. So, the borrowed, the funding that is, paid for by borrowing won't appear in your general fund budget, but in the notes, in the column, if you were to see the spreadsheet, in the expenditures for streets, it indicates that of that $260,000 you're spending on roads, 150 is for Albion. So that will be part of your approval process in the adoption of the budget.
And we don't really speculate in future years, like down the line, if you look at things happening in 25, 26, 27. You don't bake in anywhere where shared revenue might go, because we don't really know that number. And B, that's just a decision for someone next year, right?
Well, the capital improvement plan does talk about, we have to have a 5-year plan or a 10-year plan. So you'll see in the notes that there are the 2025 shared revenue increase, 2026 shared revenue increase. So that is where we're saying, if we're going to pay as you go, then here's where that $150,000 will be spent on these streets. So it's making a direct line with streets and the money that we have. And the other one, it doesn't show up there because you're making debt payments with that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, code compliance. Code enforcement? Yes, I noted that earlier, I was talking to someone, maybe it was you, about there is no funding in here, I've been working with General Engineering, who's our building inspection company, and they have a lot of services that we don't take from them. They don't provide, they don't have like a contract for their communities to do this kind of thing, but they have been, ironically, in the last 3 or 4 months, he said we've had like 6 of our communities ask this question. So it must be a thing. So I think the next draft in this, the capital page will include some funding, and we really don't know how it will play out. But some funding for that was one of the things when the shared revenue information came in, a couple of department heads in particular, like, we need someone who will focus on this. So, not that they would be necessarily, this person would be driving around looking for things, but when something comes in, then that person it would be on their calendar to stay on it. And we're, okay, 10 days, 15 days, now we're to a point where the city attorney's involved, and then keeping that whole thing moving, because that is not something we excel at. Because it's just something that, isn't a priority, it doesn't have a deadline, so then we just move on, and pretty soon it's like, where are we?
So that's not in here.
It is not.
You're gonna add that.
I will add some funding in. General they already had a meeting the day after I spoke with them, which was late last week, and they were, then I need to call Mike back actually to find out what he learned in his meeting with his staff.
They can spend a lot of time on West Fulton Street.
Yeah.
Okay, anybody else wanna add anything, or anything you don't wanna leave in there till next time? Are we good till next time? Move on to the, for some staff reports. I can't think of anything that. Anybody else have anything?
Wednesday's Coffee with a Cop at Cafe on Main Street. Myself, Sheriff Fell, and Chief Kunkel will be there between 8 and 10 if you'd like to come and talk to us.
Wednesday?
Wednesday, Cafe on Main.
Just a real quick, I know you're gonna look into that number, not to go back on that 10-year borrowing thing, but that is definitely a typo. I just read it.
And I did it quickly as well,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Way, yeah.
Otherwise, find out where the rest of them want.
Yeah, right, exactly, yeah.
Unless, yeah, there's a big.
There's a big fee associated with it.
Okay, thanks.
That may change some things, cause.
Not that number is not even good, but it might.
Right, it was some much smaller number, it may make it worthwhile doing something where you can take care of some of these other projects that we keep getting complaints about. And if we do them now, it may be cheaper than what the materials are gonna cost in 2 to 3, 4 years down the road from where they are scheduled, so. Depending on that finance cost.
Consider.
All right, anybody else have anything? Nobody did. Motion second to adjourn, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Adjourned.